Hey everybody, Shay here, and in this episode I'm going to show you how I assess comics that I end up putting in packages to ship out to backers in the Kickstarter campaigns. This is mostly for people who are normies, so not hardcore comic book fans, who may be jumping into the hobby, whether it's this campaign or some other comic campaign. They have a creator out there that they want to support, maybe it's an idea they want to support, for whatever reasons. If you're out there and you're new to comics and you're backing comic book Kickstarter campaigns or comic book Indiegogo campaigns, just something to keep in mind if you're planning on storing the comics because you want to preserve a copy. Let's say you buy multiple copies, you want to keep one in a bag and board, and you want to maybe sell it on eBay sometime in the future, $4 million bucks. So I'm gonna go through the two first issues I got for Raven Nevermore. These are the two that this is I'm always weird. It's always weird on the camera. This is the one that went out sometime late last year. This is the first comic. This is actually has a defect, which I'll talk about the defects and what that matters, how that matters to the campaign, and how it's addressed. And then this is the one that's currently being fulfilled. It's going to be going out to backers in a week or two, or it's going to maybe, hopefully, cross your fingers, everything's going to go well, the package is going to go well. It's going to go out next weekend and get the backers within a month. This one has a couple little dings and stuff that I will talk to when we get to here. So when it comes to Kickstarter backers, they're the ones who financed essentially the printing of this. So from my perspective, they got to get the best copies that came in the box. Now, when you go to a printer, there's a couple things that can go wrong at the printing press. There's a couple things that can go wrong in the design, which you can already see the white strip right here. That's a design flaw. That's a my bad. I did something wrong. I'll go into that a little bit too. And so anyways, there's something that can go wrong in the design. There's something that can go wrong with the printer, and there's something that can go wrong with the shipping. The shipping of the product to me, and then of course the shipping of the product to you. So there's 4 different steps where things can go wrong. Unfortunately, they do more often than not. But when you're a comic book collector, and this is less so now, but back in the day, back in the day, decades ago, if you wanted to, and some comics are worth a lot of money right now because they are kept in mint condition, especially the stuff from the 40s, 50s, and 60s are almost impossible to find in mint condition because comics weren't purchased to be collectibles. Comics weren't purchased to be stored and to be sold for tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars. But then something changed in the late 70s, I would say, 80s for sure. Early 90s is sort of like when everything kind of blew up. The speculation market for comics, it kind of led to the publisher producing millions of copies and then stores buying dozens, if not 100, 200, right? And then it's like the market got saturated, and then that's kind of what led to the implosion of the market in the mid 90s to late 90s. I mean, Marvel was in trouble, almost declaring bankruptcy before they licensed out their properties to movie studios like Sony, Fox, and the rest is history. Now Marvel Studios is a thing, Disney bought them out, and now you have what Marvel is today, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Anyways, but the point is that in the 90s it was very tricky. So whereas comics used to sell, they could sell hundreds of thousands, the really good ones would sell millions. You'll be lucky if you break 100,000 with a mainstream comic nowadays. An indie comic, you'll be lucky if you hit 10,000 comics. You'll be lucky if you get 6,000 comics sold in the indie market. Geez, there's mainstream comics that sell to stores in the range of 6,000 and 10,000 units. That means that less than that gets into the hands of actual buyers. So the market is not like it used to be. But to the collector, and I'm speculating here, but to the collector, and especially those that are going to crowdfunding campaigns to buy comics, I think there is the potential for something to become valuable later on, just because of how things work in cycles and stuff like that. And the crowdfunding platform and the products that come out of that are more limited, especially in terms of printing runs. Things might change, etc., etc. But if you get your hands on the work of a creator that is hitting the scene, maybe they blow up, or maybe they're a creator that already blew up, but they're relaunching something and it's in limited quantities. For whatever case might be, it looks like there's a market on things like eBay to then flip things around. I'm not saying that's going to happen to these books. I'm extremely unknown. I'm kind of coming at this from scratch. We never know. That's the whole thing with speculation market. It's good and bad, right? So let's talk about what you kind of don't want to receive and what I evaluate so that the Kickstarter backers only get what I consider a 9 to 10 grade comic, so that if they want to save it, they want to protect it, they want to keep it, bagged and board, then here's the kind of things that you have to look for and go through. So I'll go with the first issue right now. You'll see that white strip right there. That's a printing error on the cover. You'll see like it's actually on the cover, right? So that's because I didn't design the cover to go past the bleed mark. I thought I did. I thought I cleared it, but I didn't. Learn something. It will never happen again because I've got the settings in the pre-press design software to make sure this never happens again. This is a loss for me. So I would say maybe 10% of the first batch, this happened because of the way the printing. So these are stacked on the printing press, right? The pages, right? And so when they get cut, things won't cut on a straight angle because there's such a stack of paper that they just slightly go up by like quarter inch, by a few millimeters, right? And that's what happened there. That's a few millimeters. That's like about 2 millimeters. So anyways, that's a loss on profit, I guess, but that's okay. That's the learning curve that I'm going through, and that's perfectly fine. I mean, the sad thing with this particular book is you'll look on the spine there. There's no crease. There's no creases on the spine here. That's something else you want to look for. This would have been a perfect unit. This would have been a perfect unit. Another thing you want to look for is like if you push the pages together, you see how like they could here. Let's see if I can get this in focus. Like they could be like that. Right? They could just cut wrong, or like they might staple them, they might bind them wrong. But this one you flatten and the pages are straight. You see that? I'm not putting too much pressure on this, so you can see like the pages were actually cut and binded. Perfect. So this would have been a perfect unit if it wasn't for my mistake. So that's a loss, and it is what it is. Yeah. So there's the first issue. And again, I mean, this is a really sturdy cover stock. This is not standard for comics. This is a really thick stock. I didn't want to mess around with this. I love the art so much, but like you can hear the stock. This is a solid stock. And I'm kind of like doing this with it and stuff like that. And you can hear, look, like you've seen what I just did. I wiggled this around. If I did this with any other comic, I'd have like V indents here. You'll notice the spine is still perfectly fine. So like you have to manhandle these like pretty hard, pretty rough in order to create a crease here. And alas, the second batch of comics that came in, man, I would say just under half of the box was not a 9 or a 10. And that was really disappointing me. Those are not going to go with the Kickstarter backers. Kickstarter backers, like I said, are going to get something I would consider a 9 or a 10. So that if you back it up, if you preserve it, then it's going to be a good quality thing. Now, if I end up signing the copies, the reason why I didn't sign the first issue, I offered to sign the trade when the campaign that failed, but then that didn't follow through, and then I forgot to kind of offer that same suggestion for the first issue. The reason why I don't have it as a tier, at least right now, is I mean honestly, I just feel like I'm not worth. It's horrible. I'm kind of like crapping on myself, but it's like I'm a nobody. So what does it matter if I sign something? But that's not fair to me or to others who kind of want to kind of play the speculation game, and maybe 10 years from now, I mean, we don't know. The other reason is honestly, like you have to get the right kind of pen to sign comics, because if you buy the wrong kind of pen, the acid in the ink of the pen will actually damage the comic, and then it's counter effective to the whole idea of signing something and then storing it for later potential value increase. So that makes me concerned about people who sign comics. Like if you're going to sign a comic, you're a creator out there, you're going to offer signing of books, buy an archival pen. They're definitely more expensive, but the ink will not burn. It will not, but like 10 years from now, it won't turn yellow. Like black won't turn yellow. It won't damage it, but the acid won't go into your pages, etc. Now, these covers are super thick and glossy coated, so there's a good chance like these will be actually protected to signatures more than a normal comic that will actually like soak in ink because it's on a different stock, more porous stock, whereas this stock is pretty solid and the coating gives it that protection layer. So it's something I may be offering in the future. So bag and board, this is a standard kind of, again, this is for the normies out there, people who are comic collectors for like years. Of course, you know, you buy comics, they come in bags and boards. This is done as an extra attempt to kind of preserve the comic at the comic book stores. That doesn't always mean you're going to get perfect comics without creases in the spine. It doesn't always mean that. Sometimes putting the bag in the comic itself could cause you to just do mild damage that, you know, over time it can become more. Now, like, this is getting very finicky. This is not for the casual reader who doesn't give a damn about any of this. They just read their floppies because, like, they read their magazines. It's not for any protective reasons. I'm pretty protective of my comics, but I've gotten to a point now where, like, I buy so many trades that it's like it's the collective part of it is gone for me. But damn, some of the old comics that are in perfect condition, I'll be damned if I let those get damaged. Anyways, so these will come in a bag and board. When I ship them, I actually have an insert as well, a cardboard insert that keeps these as flat as possible in the envelope, so that there is very little chance that the envelope gets bended inside during shipping and then creases the spine further. It could still happen though, so that's the fourth kind of thing that can go wrong while it gets to you. It could cause some damage along the way, and that's something I can't control. But the parts I can control, I am absolutely trying to control. Okay, so here's it's pretty tight in this bag, so it's not going to get damaged after it gets in the bag. I'll show you what I mean about creased spines and what happened in this shipment. Let's see if I can get this in focus and show it. I mean, I can't really show it on the camera. Like, I'm trying to get the reflection to show where the crease is, but there's a crease here. You can feel them, you know. So, like, there's one right here by the staple a little bit. There's one in the center. And then there's one right here. If you can see the bend in the, you probably can't. This is definitely getting here, right here, right? This is getting very, very, very nitpicky, but it's something, again, if you're a collector, you do want to care about. And for me, like, I would put this at maybe I would put this at like a 6. There's 3 prominent creases. They're not massive, but I can tell they're there and they bother me. Anyways, and then the pages otherwise are pretty good. I mean, they're a little bit like a little skewed like this. I'm kind of like forcing it, but only slightly. So the pages would have been fine. The press would have been fine. No comics. The bleed was all fixed on this. So at least I'm not losing units in this shipment based on my mistake. That was definitely cleared up. And everything on the inside is fine. As far as I could tell, I flipped through this one. Everything seems fine. Like there's some stuff that will always go a little bit off by like a millimeter or two. And so, but I mean, it doesn't ruin the experience of the page. Everything that needs to be in the safe zone is what they call it, is in the safe zone. That's all taken into consideration with with the printing. What can I show here? I do like here. I'm going to show you just a sneak peek at the glossary stuff. Ooh, I don't want to show you the last page though. That would be bad. No, I don't want to do that. So you're going to see here the second page of the glossary page. I'll do it quick. It's just so you can see what I've done. So I've got like slang in here, I've got glossary, and I've got cosmology. And I try to put terms that are relevant to the past issues. So this one in particular, contextual to this issue, plus some stuff that might have been part of the first issue. And that's going to be bonus content because the comic is 30 pages of sequential pages as the art pages. Right, but I needed to get it in a multiple of 4 because the way that books are printed and then, you know, double-sided and then stapled. Standard comics are 22 pages. DC does 20, something like that. But in any case, there's ads and stuff in a comic book, which gets it to about 32 pages on the storefront. So this one is 30 pages, 2 pages bonus, so I have to add like extra stuff on the back. So there's always going to be 2 pages of extra setting centric like lore stuff, like bonus content at the back. Outside of that, what were the 3 things I wanted to talk about then? So yeah, it's the creases here. You want to hope that your copy is seamless. It's perfect on the spine. It's very unlikely these covers are gonna be bent. They're gonna be like weird creases and bends on the cover. It's almost unlikely. Again, this stock is so thick. This is some trades don't have stock this thick. Anyways, I didn't want to mess around. Like I said, the art is really pretty. I like it, and I like the shininess. I love this art. Samuel Cazal is the artist. He's a woodcut artist, Samuel Cazal. But I found him and I was like, this is weird. This isn't a comic book artist, but I kind of wanted to go in that direction with the books. I'm like, I don't want a comic book artist to do the covers. I want someone who's like traditionally trained, preferably in woodcut. But I'll talk about the covers in another video because I'm going to cut out whatever I just did because that's its own video and I'm going to derail. So yeah, it's the creases on the spine. It's any kind of bends here, and then it's the page. You want a clean press that happened and a clean cut that makes the pages be as normal as possible. That's not always the case. I would say 25% of them, they won't be. They're kind of off, especially in this shipment. It was pretty bad. And then you want to make sure that the press actually printed things the way, like, you don't want these panels to be on an angle. That likely means that the printer messed up, especially if it happens on every page. It likely means the printer messed up and not the designer. Okay, and that's it. I mean, you don't want stains and stuff like that, but these are coming straight out of the box. Yeah, even the ones that are kind of slightly damaged here, they're not horrible comics. They're like absolutely readable, and some people don't care about any of that stuff. But I'm gonna save those copies for if I have to, move these copies out like through other channels. They're gonna be the less than perfect copies, because the Kickstarters are the ones who paid for the good stuff. So they're going to get the good stuff. They're going to get the cream of the crop that I get out of the box. This particular shipment, the box, man, like all the top comics were like, they were not in good condition. Like, oh man, so many were lost just off the top. Because I think I talked about earlier, like this stock is so thick. It's so hard to put a crease in here. Like for you to crease these covers, it's people like that pick them off the press, right? The whole stack, they squeeze the top ones. Maybe they grab too many and then they put them into the box or whatever. But that squeeze is what causes these creases to happen. And a stock this thick, that squeeze, that might have been a Titan's hands, because like you've seen what you've seen me do this to this comic. Listen, guys. You saw what I just did there. There is no crease still on this cover. So that's pissing me off. I don't know if I have to like go back and say something about that. That's unfortunate. A little bit pissed. Anyways, that's it for this episode. I wanted to keep this one really quick just to kind of go through some of these things, what I'm taking into consideration for Kickstarter backers, things to take into consideration if you're new to comics, you're getting into them, whether they're for crowdfunded comics or like what to look out for, or whether you're going to go into the comic book shop and pick up some single issues. The speculation market is essentially over, but there are some cases where maybe this comes back, but I think it's more for when there's low demand, there's low print runs, there's some sort of history behind the importance of the value, the potential value of the comic going up. Everything becomes speculation. But if you're going to protect them, keep them in the bagging board. Put them somewhere where there's very little humidity, so it doesn't affect the inner pages. It doesn't make them all wobbly and lopsided, because that will happen in humidity. That happens to trades. I put all my trades in bags as well, just to kind of protect about that. And I'm going to derail a little bit. Like I have a window that up in that top, there was a leak that ended up filling my window well with water, and then it was leaking through a tiny little seam in my window well, ran down the side of my shelf, and it actually reached one over this way, which is where I keep all my Hellboy trades. And these are the Hellboy trades that are no longer in print, and the Hellboy trades sucked up all the water. Like they're bricks. I can't open them anymore. They're just pulp. They're pulp bricks, and it's so unfortunate because these are books I cannot get again. So I bought all the omnibuses last week, which I'll do an episode on that when we get there. But that enough of derailment. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet and you're interested in these sorts of deeper delves or just lighter delves, any kind of delves, some derailments, just some back and forth banter about things, engage in the comments, subscribe to this channel. And if you haven't checked the Kickstarter as well, I have some videos on this channel that kind of pitch the comic, that talk about it. There's an inspirations and rambling video that's 46 minutes of me kind of talking about kind of what brought me to comics, why I wanted to do this, and and check out the comic on Kickstarter and consider backing it. There's a couple different tiers there, from digital to print, and multiple copies, so you can get the entire run if you've missed 1 and 2. The campaign for 3 is up right now, but you can buy 1, 2, and 3. And give it a check out and share it on social media if you don't mind. And I will catch you in the next episode. Don't forget to explore, engage, and inspire, buddy. Peace.